Hi, we are Caroline and Levi Holt, and we're part of the family here at Holt Farms.
When I think of the people that I know that I watched wear Liberty overalls growing up, hard work, determination, perseverance, just a real appreciation for their craft and what they did and for things that lasted and for things that meant something to them. That's what I saw walking around in Liberty overalls.
Shop libertybibs.com for your pair today.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Dubin, and this is the Rural Woman Podcast. I'm a first-generation farmer who married into agriculture. Born and raised in a city, I was so unfamiliar with where my food came from, but I was determined to figure it out. Through my journey into agriculture, I saw women who were strong but humble, often taking a back seat. To me, these women were leaders who deserved a seat at the table. I created the Rural Woman Podcast to share the voices of women in an industry whose stories often went untold. The rural entrepreneurs who live and breathe their work, full of grit and pride. We come here to share our stories, to be in community with each other, to be challenged and inspired, but most importantly, to be celebrated and to be heard. We may not all live, farm, ranch, or homestead the same, but we are all connected. We are rural women, and our stories are worthy of being told. Hey everyone, welcome to this special featured episode of the Rural Woman Podcast. Today you'll meet Kyndall Durakovic Bauer. Kyndall is a Florida native who has a strong passion for agriculture. She has been working on building her cattle business, KD Cattle Co., for several years and has always had a vision of using her cattle company to help bridge the gap between producers and consumers by taking the extra time to be a source of information to folks with questions about cattle or anything ag-related. This special featured episode is sponsored by Liberty Overalls. Now, Liberty is committed to telling the authentic story of its company and its products, and they thought what better way to tell that story than to highlight the story of one of their own customers. So I was so excited to connect with Kyndall, who is a fellow Lady Liberty bib wearer like myself, and we share our favorite products and some stories about Liberty bibs while highlighting Kyndall's amazing story in agriculture. And I cannot wait for you to hear it. Without further ado, my friends, let's get to this special featured episode brought to you by Liberty Overalls with Kyndall. Kyndall, welcome to the Rural Woman Podcast. Thank you so much for being here today.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you guys so much for inviting me on.
For the listeners who are unfamiliar with you, Kyndall, give us your background. Who are you, and how did you get your start in agriculture?
Okay, this might take a minute, but I grew up in a small town that I was always surrounded by agriculture, but I didn't grow up on a farm or anything like that. I definitely always had a love for animals, and then in high school, I got involved in the FFA program and started showing steers. And that's really what sparked my passion for ag. And from there, I knew I wanted to continue in education in agriculture and go on to college to get an ag degree. And then I also from there knew, okay, one day I want to start my own herd and sell beef locally. So that's kind of how I got started.
Do you have any favorite memories from FFA that you want to share with us?
Oh man, it was a great experience. I can't think of like one memory, but there's definitely challenges with, raising a show steer and then, putting all this time into it and selling them, which I knew from the beginning. And I'm not one of the ones that was like super sad about it, but it's definitely something to experience, and just training a 1,000-pound animal to walk around like a dog, basically, it's a lot of work and a lot of time and effort. So
I am always amazed by seeing show cattle and the kids who, like you said, are able to make these giant animals walk around like a dog. And I have to say that they're probably more well groomed than most dogs on a farm anyways. So there's so much love and passion that goes into raising show cattle. And like you said, at the end of the season when it goes for sale and everything like that, it pulls on your heartstrings, but that's what you're there for and that's what you're doing.
Right, exactly.
So you went to university and got an ag degree. Tell us what your next steps were after that.
So before actually graduating from college with my bachelor's, I got the opportunity to work for the Starkey family, and they're pretty well known in my area. They had a 16,000 acre ranch, and throughout the years, it's gotten sold off and developed just with the economy changing and things like that, and especially just being in Florida. So the family wanted to keep ag in the area and called me one day and said, "Hey, would you want to work for us and come check out what we're doing?" And they were building a farmer's market that they wanted to be more of a boutique kind of indoor farmer's market, but it was still a board and batten building that looked like a barn made from wood that they milled off of their ranch property. So it's definitely a very cool business, and it's one of those things. It's like you kind of don't realize what it is until you see it. But I got to be the general manager there for about 3 years. And then I got married about a year and a half ago and had to move for my husband's job. So I resigned from there, but I still do their social media. So I'm still involved there and work as their social media marketing manager and their photographer. So I enjoy still doing that and being a part of that business.
That is a very large ranch. When I'm thinking of how many acres that is absolutely huge. And I love that you were able to connect your love of agriculture and, connect that with the community around you by creating this place for folks to come and see, creators and makers and people who grew their food and connect with them.
Yes, I really enjoyed it. Definitely, I always loved working with local farmers and ranchers and being able to provide their products to the general public and kind of help bridge the gap, which is also one of the reasons why I wanted to start my own cattle company.
So tell us more about your cattle company. I think it's so neat that you have taken your love for cattle and, started your own small herd. So tell us when and why you started your own cattle business.
So I started my cattle company about 5 or 6 years ago now. And honestly, I just started with 2 heifers and I didn't have property or a lease or anything like that. I just wanted to get my foot in the door and bought some heifers and raised them and then bred them and then bought a couple more. And now I have, a bigger herd and I feel like I can call myself a rancher now when before I was just, I only had a couple cows. But I definitely am always striving to learn as much as I can. And, networking is the number one thing that has helped me and just saying, "Hey, can I come help you work cows?" And that's how I've learned and attending any seminars and different things that I could throughout the years to just learn as much as possible because I want to be, care for my livestock the best way that I can, in the best way. How do I say that? But, I don't know. You get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's perfect. No, you did great. I love that you mentioned that networking is a big part of what you do when you're starting your business, because I think it's so important when you're learning something new, or even if you've been doing something but you're growing. I think it's so important to have a community around you that can understand what you're going through and, be there to help you if you need a hand, and vice versa for you to be there for them if they need anything.
Yeah, 100%. I always, when I talk to younger people, I'm still young, but when I talk to, kids in college or kids in high school, I'm always like networking and meeting people and offering to help, that's the best thing that you can do for your career.
Yeah, for sure. So, Kyndall, what have been some of the biggest challenges when it's come to starting your cattle operation that you want to share?
I mean, to be honest with you, in the beginning, it was very hard. Just being somebody who didn't come up in the ag industry and being a female and trying to reach out to people and say, hey, I want to buy cattle, but I only needed a couple head. So at a time, so it was hard to kind of get your foot in the door, but you just have to stay persistent, to be honest. But that was one of the biggest challenges was, finding a mentor that would take the time to take me seriously and work with me.
Yeah.
And help me, learn all the details of working cattle and the different vaccinations and different ways to do things and what's best and, things like that.
And I think it can be, I know for me, not coming from agriculture and coming into this and with livestock specifically, I was always intimidated to ask the questions because for me, it was like, well, should I just be looking this up somewhere else instead of bugging them or asking them? And if you do look it up, then you get so many different answers. And it's just nice to know that you can find people who are willing to help you and are willing to, not make fun of you, I guess, if you ask those silly questions, because the silly questions are going to come no matter what it is. I think even if you've been doing this for a long time, you can come up with probably some things that you've never experienced before. And if you don't ask, then you don't know how to do it correctly.
Right, 100%.
So what advice do you have for someone who's looking into getting into cattle specifically?
I think it depends on what exactly they're wanting to do. Are they wanting to raise beef or are they wanting to have a cow-calf operation? Like, I wanted to do both of those things. So I was like, I need all the information I can get, just depending on what they want to do or whether they're wanting to, raise show cows or, raise show calves for other people to show, things like that. Just depends on what they are looking to do, number one. And then from there, definitely, like you said, networking and trying to find a mentor, somebody they can go to ask questions. And luckily, I did eventually find people that were so helpful and still are. And, I can text photos to and say, hey, have you dealt with this before? And that is something that, I'm so thankful for. But as far as advice for them, other than that, is to just learn as much as you can and be patient and just honestly just get out there and do it. And I always tell people, you can't just buy cows. There's a lot more to it than that. You have to have a trailer and, a set of pens and all of that. And having somebody that can kind of help guide you as well is always beneficial. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think those are all great pieces of advice. And especially don't just go out and buy a cow because you have the space for it or whatever, right? Like they're a living animal and they need to be taken care of a certain way. So
it just, I feel like it depends on what your background is. I mean, yes. I grew up around horses and have had horses before I got my cows and, was an FFA and learned a lot through that and then got an ag degree and networked. And there's a lot of steps, you definitely don't just buy a cow one day. I mean, you could, but.
Take it from somebody who has just bought a cow one day. Don't do it.
Well, yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
You can do it, but.
Yes, there will be some learning along the way if you do it that way.
Yes. I mean, and even me, sometimes I kind of call my first heifers that I bought. They were like my guinea pigs. I mean, like I learned to draw blood on them. I learned to do so many different things. And so I'm like, sorry, girls, but thank you for teaching me. But, things like that.
So true. Liberty Bibs has been making overalls since 1912 for the whole family, men's, women's, and kids. Their women's overalls and shorts are perfect for any woman who wants functionality and comfort. With a wide range of sizes, fits, and styles, they truly have something for everyone. Liberty overalls are made from the highest quality of materials and construction, so you can be confident that they will stand the test of time. Whether you're looking for a new pair of everyday overalls, outdoor work overalls, or something special for a particular occasion, Liberty Bibs has you covered. Visit the link in today's show notes to look around and discover the perfect pair of overalls for you, or head to libertybibs.com. So tell us more about the cattle that you have. What breed of cattle are you raising, and what are they being used for?
So, especially starting out, just being a smaller female and knowing like I am doing this on my own, I definitely always wanted docile cattle that were going to be easy to work with. So I took a lot of time in like hand selecting each heifer that I bought, number one. But I love Herefords, so I do have a lot of Hereford and Brahma influence as well as some Angus. So mainly just have crossbred cattle that, I have raised those heifers and bred them to grow my herd. And just over the years, I've been pretty much keeping all of my heifers as replacements to grow. And then any of the steers or any of the bull calves, steering them and then raising them for beef to, finish out and sell locally.
That's great. And where are you selling them locally? How are you marketing them?
To be honest, I'm still working on my logo and my website and things like that. So honestly, it's mainly just been word of mouth so far, and friends and family and my I have a few customers that will buy from me every year or every time I have cattle that go to the processor or the butcher. So definitely want to continue expanding and continue to sell more, beef shares every year, because I definitely, don't have enough supply for the demand, especially just being in Florida. There's definitely a gap there of, people wanting local products or, local beef and produce, but not knowing where to go to get it.
Yeah, for sure.
Not knowing someone they can get it from. So then when they do meet you, they're like, oh, we want it, but I only have so many that I, have available a year. Like I do try to keep, all my steers I finish from my herd, that I've raised. And so that's why, I'm trying not to outsource calves just so I know, where they came from and just can make people feel comfortable knowing like it came from me and I know everything that it's been given and what vaccinations it's had and things like that.
Yeah. Well, and you've obviously worked in situations where you've been able to connect people with their food before you were raising their food. And I think the story between raising food or growing food and being able to connect that to a consumer is a really powerful thing. And I think it's something that, shouldn't be taken lightly. And you've obviously grown your herd and you're able to supply your community with locally grown beef. What has been, the reaction to selling your beef to your local community? Are they familiar with the process of how food gets to their table? Or is it more of I had no idea this is how far food really needed to go to get here?
That's a great question. I would say, at least in my experience, most people don't know. Most people have no idea what it takes to raise a steer. And it's like, I'm always thinking it takes years. It's years of my life. It's not 1 year. It's, I have this mama cow that I've bred and she's pregnant for 9.5 months. And then she raises that calf for 6 to 7 months. And then, it's another at least 1.5 to 2 years that I am feeding it out and, then I finish it. So it takes a long time and a lot goes into it. And, providing them, supplementing them with mineral and different things like that. But I definitely think people don't know. There's few people that really like appreciate it.
Well, when you describe it like that, of how long it actually takes, it's so amazing to me because I am extremely guilty of not realizing where my food came from or how much effort it took to even grow the food or raise the food that I was eating. And to put it in terms of, it takes years for the freezers or the coolers at Costco to have meat in them. Like the supply and demand, it takes a long time to be able to supply that demand.
Right. Yeah. And then like, even when I started, it's like they were heifers that weren't of breeding age. So then, I had to raise them and wait to breed them and things like that. So yeah, I think people just don't, and I don't blame them. They don't know. And I was one of those people when I was a kid. Like I didn't know before I really got involved in ag. I think that's one of the reasons as well. Like once I got in high school and started buying my own groceries and things, I was like, what is it? What does cage-free eggs mean? What is grass-fed beef better? All these different things. Like I wanted to know, and I'm thankful now that I've gone through everything I have and gotten to visit some really awesome ranches and farms and gotten to see what I have been able to see, which I know a lot of people, will never, visit the kind of farms I have or never, go walk through a production dairy barn and things like that. So that's one of the reasons I always try to just advocate. And it's like, yes, I have, my beef cattle company, but I'm here and happy to answer any questions ag related that people have. So
yeah, absolutely. And that's why we're here. And that's why I think it's so important that we share our stories in agriculture so people can connect a face to their food and say, like, maybe I will never go to a dairy barn and see full production dairy, but I have seen someone on social media and they're explaining to me how my milk got to the store or how my beef got to my freezer, all of these things. Like, that's why I think that advocating for agriculture, like we're doing right here today, Kyndall, is so important.
Right. Exactly.
So you and I have something in common, Kyndall, and that is that we both love our Liberty bib overalls. And I'm so excited that Liberty has connected me with you today so we can share a little bit of our love of Liberty bib overalls. So my question for you about them is, why do you work in Liberty overalls?
I think when shopping for overalls just in general or, work wear to work cows and things like that, I came across Liberty overalls, and I have 3 pairs of the duck bibs, and I love working in them because they're durable and I love all the pockets. So many pockets. When I'm tail bleeding or, giving vaccinations, I can keep my needles and my phone and paper towels or whatever I need. I have it all right in my bib. So I love that. I also love that Liberty has, they have women's that fit women. So
right.
That's, one of the things that I was looking for. It's like you see so many different kinds of overalls, but rarely, or even workwear, and a lot of times it's like geared for men. And I even wear men's Wranglers a lot of the time too, just also for their durability. But I love that Liberty has women's apparel.
I am the same way. And I just think it's something that I guess I never really thought of because, to be honest, I never thought I would be wearing overalls for my job every day of my life. So I didn't come from the ag background. I worked in an office. I wore high heels to work, kind of thing. And now I'm in overalls wearing them. But like you said, I love the ladies' Liberty line. And when I got my first pair of them, I put them on, and compared to the men's overalls that I had to wear before, because there weren't ladies workwear for me, I put them on, and my immediate thought was, oh my gosh, these are like the yoga pants of overalls because they're so comfortable and they have stretch in them, like where women have hips. There is some room for your hips there. So So you said
they're not big and baggy, like they actually fit.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So you said you had a few pair of the duck bibs. Which ones are your favorite pair?
I guess, I mean, between the colors, I probably like the light blue the best. I just feel like they're a little easier to match or coordinate my outfits with, but I love them all. I have the khaki and green as well.
Yes. Yeah. It's hard. It's nice that there's options too, right? That there's options of colors that you can wear depending on what you're doing. Typically, I wear the light blue mint color when I'm gardening. And I have a funny story from this summer, actually. A neighbor of mine stopped by, and I have to say, like, I was looking a little like a hot mess that day, but it was fine. I was wearing my mint overalls. It was super hot outside. I was dirty from head to toe, and I had like my bright orange, ridiculous Crocs on that are like my go outside, throw the garbage out, come in kind of thing. But she just looked at me. She was like, I just love your outfit today. And I still don't know if she was being serious or not. I should go back and ask her. But they're fun, and it's fun to, be a woman in agriculture and still be able, to dress the way that you want to. Like, we don't have to wear the brown colored bibs all of the time. Like, we can wear, the green ones, we can wear the mint ones, we can do whatever. So,
that's also what I love is that it's not like only a jean bib or white or black, it's your main regular colors you see all the time. Like, they have all these, like the green and the mint blue are different colors. So I love that about it too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're just bib girls for life over here. I have to say too, we were chatting about bibs before we hit record. One of my other favorite pairs is they came out with, I call them short alls. They're like bib overalls, but they're shorts. And when I originally saw them, Kyndall, I was like, I don't know, am I going to look like I'm 7 years old, like going for an ice cream cone wearing them? I kind of do, but they're super fun anyway. So I always look forward to wearing them in the spring. Being in Florida, I'm sure you get to wear yours a little bit more than I do here in Canada, but they're really fun.
Yes.
So, Kyndall, what are some of the things that you think that you are the most proud of when it comes to your cattle operation and your journey into agriculture?
I think just following my dream, honestly, and like I go, out and put hay out or, go feed my cows or whatever it is. And I'm like, this is what I wanted. Like I always wanted to have a herd and, grow that to be, a decent size operation and be able to produce a wholesome product to, provide to my friends and family. So I definitely think that's what I'm most proud of. And just also the fact that I started from nothing and, literally bought 2 heifers and then grew from there. And, I recently just sold several head, but I had about 50. So to go from 2 to about 50 in 5 years, that is something I'm proud of as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And such growth in such a short amount of time. And, being able to provide food for your community is such a rewarding thing.
Yes, it is. And I just love, having it all tie together, like my passion for agriculture and, my experiences and knowledge and also having a herd of my own.
Yeah, for sure. So, Kyndall, what are the plans for your future in KD Cattle Co.?
Well, I definitely have been looking for a lease or just another piece of property to be able to continue to expand in Florida. Florida is definitely very different, but we do have a lot of agriculture here that people probably don't realize. But we also are developing so rapidly here in Florida as well. So it's pretty hard to obtain land these days, but that is something that I am working on for the near future. And I just want to continue to grow to be able to, get the word out there that, I have this cattle company and can provide beef and continue to just be able to bridge the gap between producers and consumers.
Yeah, that's so great. And I am so excited to continue to watch you grow and all of the good things that are coming your way. So thank you so much, Kyndall, for joining me today. I'm so excited that I was able to chat with you about your farm and your growing ranch and all of the things and our love of Liberty Bib overall. So
Me too. Thank you very much.
For the listeners who would like to connect with you after the show, where can they find you online?
Yes, so I am on Facebook and Instagram. So currently my Instagram handle is Miss Odessa, MissOdessa 556.
Perfect. Kyndall, thank you so much again for sharing your story with us today. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much. It was so nice chatting with you.
Thanks for listening to the Rural Woman Podcast, a proud member of the Positively Farming Media Podcast Network. The Rural Woman Podcast is more than just a podcast. We are a community. A huge thank you to the Rural Woman Podcast team, audio editor Max Hofer, and admin support from Kim & Co. Online. A special thanks to our Patreon executive producers, Sarah Riedner from Happiness by the Acre and Carrie Munven from Laystone Farms. To learn how you can become a Patreon executive producer or other ways to financially support the show, head on over to wildrosefarmer.com to learn more. Be sure to hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you listen to the podcast to get the latest episodes directly on your playlist. And if you are loving the show, please be sure to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or any other platform that accepts ratings and reviews. You can connect with us on social media at The Rural Woman Podcast and with me at Wild Rose Farmer. One of the best ways you can support the show is by sharing it. Send this episode to a friend or share on your social media. Let's strengthen and amplify the voices of women in agriculture together. Until next time, my friend, keep sharing your story.